Malibu, I'm looking at you. Yeah, that's Mount Diablo, shrouded in some clouds. Beautiful day today in March. Having a really good time. 2024 election year. Crazy election year. And it's sad. Pretty much all the establishment has is, you know, handing money to oligarchs and defense contractors through this country called Ukraine and supporting a genocide in Gaza. That seems to be our foreign policy. And then on the domestic front, it's like vilification of the poor. One side bragging about how great the economy is, the other one talking about how bad it is. No sort of infrastructure improvement, no long term planning. I don't think we're capable of doing, say, a project like, when I look at the Golden Gate Bridge, it's beautiful, right? And what a colossal big thing, a socialist program, a government program, which ends up helping capitalism work better, right? That's a mixed economy. That's what's called a mixed economy. Things are subtle. Things are, so if a Democratic candidate for president, say like a Bernie Sanders now, who is an admitted Democratic socialist, but if he starts talking about spending money for programs of social uplift, that is in fact the opposite of the totalitarianism that the Republicans quickly seized upon. The rhetoric of sort of a Bernie Sanders or even candidate AOC, they would, oh gosh, look over there on the left, Democrats. They wouldn't distinguish between the corporate Democrats and the progressives. They would just paint them all as far left. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be totalitarianism if they take over. Communist totalitarianism. That's what you get if you vote for Bernie, according to the Republicans. And so that was sad. And then even when the corporate Democrat camp, the deep state, threw a coup and blocked Bernie in the primary, both in 2016 and in 2020, doing things that were legal and things that weren't. They used nefarious activities. Some will remember the Shadow app. Some will remember Roberta Lange bringing down the gavel on the Bernie voters in Nevada. Some will remember the confessions of Donna Brazile in her book, where she admits that they rigged the debate in one of the primaries and stuff like that. So you have all this stuff, that happened 2016 to 2020, which really sort of undermined our democracy, and we really needed to look at it then. And they can't just say, "Oh no, these political parties are private," No, there's a process, and the Shadow app at the Iowa caucus, which handed Bernie's victory, the Iowa caucus, to Pete Buttigieg. That was nefarious as heck, and everybody, you could feel it, even if you didn't admit it to yourself. You knew something shady happened. And when you watch there was a debate or an event CNN hosted, okay? But there's this whole thing that happened where somebody from Hillary's camp had gotten into the Warren campaign, Elizabeth Warren's campaign. They were in there as an advisor, and they got to her, had their meeting with her, and advised her to go along with this campaign smearing Bernie Sanders as some kind of misogynist who thought that women couldn't run for president. And they put this whole campaign together, and it was crazy. And they wrote, so it started out, I think, with a letter, like to the editor, maybe opinion piece, or something on CNN, something to do. And it was like the day of the debate or the day before the debate. And then there they all were, CNN moderator of the debate. And the CNN moderator says to Bernie Sanders, Senator, did you tell Senator Warren that a woman couldn't be president? And he says, no. Okay, now here's a little aside. Bernie Sanders was the one who convinced Elizabeth Warren to run in the first place. Okay, they actually had a meeting. He encouraged her. He talked with her, and she admitted publicly before that he had kind of spurred her on to run. So anyway, which took some of the, there was like, oh, she's going to take away from Bernie, but maybe they could have united. I don't know why they didn't, but in the end, but anyway, so back to the event. So CNN, so she asked Bernie Sanders that. He says, no. Okay. Then she turns right after that, without skipping a beat, to Senator Warren and says, Senator Warren, what did it feel like when Senator Sanders told you that a woman couldn't run for president? Right? And Senator Warren didn't say, oh, no, Bernie, as a matter of fact. No, she didn't. She kind of went along with it. It was really a sad moment in so many ways. It showed the utter demise of two of our major American political institutions, right? Namely, one, our media, and two, our political parties. So it showed that both, had been corrupted in really obvious ways, and it was just horrible. But there was very little go around about that from either party. No Republican journalist decided to make a big deal out of that. No one from the left, of course, Democrat-controlled media decided to do anything about it. The corporate media was silent about that smear, and that just happened. So anyway, those are things we need to look back on and deal with. It's kind of like, someone can't come into the family and say something really abusive or mean, and then just expect everybody to get over it. It's like eventually we have to kind of go, oh yeah, that thing I said. Wow, I was just having a super horrible day. I wasn't in the right space. I really don't feel that way, all the time. So please don't, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like if that never happens from the person who says it, and then if the people who experience it don't get to say what they're experiencing, what they think, then there's no healing, right? But it just goes it's unacknowledged. It's like an abusive thing in the family, or something. So, it's something that we needed to deal with. I'm saying even all the way back to 2000 in Florida, Jeb Bush and Catherine Harris and Roger Stone and what was it, the Dimpled Chads and Stop the Count and all this other, this crazy stuff went on. I'm not getting the details exactly correct right now, but just recall back in 2000, the election that year was kind of crazy. But then, we were going to look at that. We were going to deal with that. But unfortunately, other events, other crises started to happen. That's when the competition of crisis really set in. Then you get 911 soon after that, right? 9/11. Um, you know, and people just kind of, the election debacle of 2000 is like yesterday's news. It's so September 10th, right? It's not the thing anymore. So, and that's just kind of how it went. People just kind of forgot. Everything kind of gets what's called memory hold. That's really a phenomenon, right? People that support and champion real reforms of things that would really help people and maybe take a little bit away from the establishment, as it were. They, of course, are gaslit or vilified or smeared in other ways. So, they're not dealing with it straight. There's no dealing straight with the arguments anymore. When somebody says, hey, I myself took the vaccine, I'm not anti-vax, but I am anti-mandate. I'm wondering what if it's valuable to mandate that college age students, have to take this vaccine in order to do whatever, right? They're college age, they're healthy, they have natural immunity. Many of them had already had COVID. By the time the Omicron variety came out, Omicron variety was more transmissible than Delta and Alpha variants had been. The Omicron variety presented a mild case for most people that got it. I myself got it, right? A lot of people I knew then got it. People finally got COVID. A lot, if they had managed to avoid it by being super careful and doing whatever, they managed to avoid it up until then. But when the Omicron started going around, most noticed a lot of your friends got it, even friends who had already been vaxxed, right? But they got the Omicron, and they then had a natural immunity after that that's superior to the hastily thrown together Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson vaccine products that were supported by the whole establishment, so those weren't very good. But natural immunity, turns out, is still. And when the Omicron variety was going around, most people, like I said, got it. That is unacknowledged, right? That is not acknowledged. Nothing about what governments did, how they used the crisis of COVID-19 to actually give themselves far-reaching emergency powers. And while they weren't really doing public health kinds of things, like, in the early phases of the virus, what you do as a society is test and quarantine the positives. And you do what's called, focused protection. You protect people that are going to be vulnerable to the virus. At this point, since it's new, it's first starting to circulate around. You have mapped its genome. You've looked at it under, microscopes, and you've done all this and that, but you still don't know a whole lot about it, about its life cycle, what's going to happen. So it's scary, admittedly, at that time, and you don't have a vaccine yet. But as some would point out, you could do an attenuated whole virus vaccine. That's not going to spur on a spike in a kind of the spike protein or any of that. It's going to give some immunity to the virus and to the whole virus, not just the spike protein. And it's called an attenuated whole virus vaccine. And some places actually did that, and they experienced good results. We were held captive by Moderna and Pfizer and these entities that had already been paid to just do our vaccine program. There's no competition. There's no debate. It's not like we were going to, oh, hey, look, we discovered this guy over here and his pharmaceutical company, and he is not, connected to the establishment like Pfizer is, but he does have a very nice vaccine product that we think is going to be more effective and less toxic. And so can he put it in a bid, How about it? Let's have a little bidding period, and have some open public hearings about things. No, you didn't get anything like that. The money was already spent. They spent the money on advertising for the vaccines, which was just a barrage of on buses, placards, well, saturation in the radio, NPR, on cable TV, just everywhere, just total saturation coverage by pharmaceutical. And it became obvious then too how much of our media platforms are already just kind of run by Pfizer, already kind of underwritten, by biopharma giants. Yeah. So thoughts for March 2024 election year. It's heating up. It's not looking good. It's looking like Gropey versus Grabby once again. Like, seems like that's the best Western civilization. That's the best we can come up with, is demented old corrupt motherfucker, career senator from hell, Joe Biden, versus, failed TV icon, swaggering old brat boy, billionaire child, Donald Trump. It's amazing. I mean, I'm dumbfounded. I can't believe it. I mean, what was his name? Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever. He sounded so smart at first. He was so fast talking and articulate. He's like, oh, this is cool. It's fresh, Of course, he had his own baggage, whatever. I don't know, but what a bummer. It's shaping up like this again. It's like it's like Doom on repeat. It's like, oh, we're gonna block Bernie, haha, once. How about twice? Oh, look, haha. The best that the two-party system, corporate controlled, donor run, just shithole parties. The best they can produce is fuck Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Isn't that amazing? All right, we gotta get it back together, people. We gotta take back, assert ourselves again, get some constitutional rights and free speech and our own platforms. That's what we really need. We really need our own social media platforms and our own networks and stuff like that we can just post our own videos to and not worry about it.